Low latent inhibition is a neurological trait where the brain struggles to filter out unnecessary information, or at least according to the brain, it's unnecessary. And why does the brain deem it unnecessary? Because if it didn't, we probably wouldn't survive. Our brain is a mechanism that filters out most of the information around us so that we can get the task in front of us accomplished and survive. We can arguably say that every moment in our lives is a moment of survival. So it's an important aspect of the brain, but some people have a lower latent inhibition, meaning that we have access to things that not everybody does. Our brain doesn't filter everything out. And an example of this mechanism of the brain is an experiment that most people, I think, have been exposed to at this point, but I'll describe it quickly. You are told that there is an experiment where the brain's speed and ability to act quickly is tested. And so you're shown a video of people playing basketball, half dressed in white, half dressed in black, and you're asked to count the number of passes that the players dressed in white make in a very short period of time. And so your brain quickly tries to catch all the passes that the players in white are passing. And once the experiment is over, rather than being told how quickly your brain works or whether you got the passes right, you're asked, did you happen to see the person dressed as a gorilla running across the floor and waving their arms frantically? And of course, the answer for most people is no, because the brain has been given a task, count the number of passes, and it focuses on that task, and it doesn't see anything else that is not relevant to that task. And that is the genius of the brain and the beauty and the gift of the brain, but it can also make it difficult for us to pick up on information other than what the brain deems important. And so with an understanding of this low latent inhibition in some people, it was discovered that people who are incredibly smart geniuses, who are creative geniuses, like for instance, John Nash, who was the subject of the movie A Beautiful Mind, had low latent inhibition. He was able to see aspects of reality that most were not able to see, but he also had a diagnosis of schizophrenia. And so this was a study that was put forward, the idea that low latent inhibition is connected with people who are sometimes deemed schizophrenic and that they have more access to information than others do. And creative people have more access to information than regular people do. And I would also posit that people who practice mediumship and try to expand their ability to connect with spirit also have low latent inhibition. And perhaps, actually, we all have the tendency toward low latent inhibition. And by the way, it's not a negative thing, it's a gift. What was also determined in these studies of people like John Nash was that certain people might have exposure to information that for others the brain doesn't allow, but that it's hard for them to be able to process it for whatever reason. And they've come up with many different reasons that this could be, but that it's harder for them to process it. And so it makes them unbalanced in some way. And then others are able to process that information and able to exist with that information and also function in this world. And so I think that the work as a medium is trying to pursue low latent inhibition, trying to gain access to the information that is not easily accessible for most people, and to then allow it to be interpreted without becoming frightened or unbalanced or believing that the world is falling apart, and just allowing the brain to expand its belief in what is valuable information. And I think there's a lot more room for studies about low latent inhibition. But I do think it's interesting that it is correlated with psychosis, with extreme creativity, extreme intelligence, and extreme connection to the energies around us.